Cindy was 23 years old when she decided to quit college. She told people she was bored, that the classes felt pointless, that the pressure made her tired all the time. What she did not say out loud was that she hated trying. She hated waking up every day knowing she had to struggle for years before seeing any reward. Studying felt heavy. Effort felt slow. And Cindy did not want a slow life. Her parents were furious when she told them. They had worked hard so she could study, so she could build a future that did not depend on luck or appearances. They argued late into the night. Cindy said she wanted freedom. Her parents said she was running away. In the end, they made a decision she did not expect. They told her they would stop giving her money. No more rent. No more food. No more safety net. If she wanted to leave college, she would have to stand on her own. That was when fear arrived. Real fear. Cindy moved into a small apartment in a big city where no one knew her name. The streets were loud. The buildings were tall. Everything cost money. She counted her savings again and again, watching the numbers shrink. She felt small and alone, surrounded by people who seemed to know exactly where they were going. Cindy was afraid of being poor, but even more afraid of failing slowly. She needed money, but she did not want a difficult job. She did not want long hours, stress, or another life that felt like a trap. And slowly, a dangerous thought began to grow in her mind. Cindy had always been told she was beautiful. People noticed her when she entered a room. Men smiled at her easily. She looked at herself in the mirror one night and asked a question that would change everything. Why work hard when I'm pretty? In Cindy's imagination, beauty became a shortcut, a way around effort, a way to skip the years of struggle her parents talked about. She dreamed of expensive clothes, large houses, shiny cars, and a life where money solved problems instead of creating them. She did not want to build success. She wanted to step into it. That was when she made her choice. Cindy decided she would use her looks to find a rich man. Not love. Not partnership. Just escape. She told herself it was smart, that everyone used what they had. And beauty, she believed, was what she had. As she stepped into that decision, Cindy felt excited, powerful, and sure of herself. She truly believed she had found an easier way forward. She did not yet know how much that belief would cost her. I thought beauty could replace effort. I was about to learn how expensive that belief was. Cindy found a job at the front desk of a large, expensive hotel. It paid just enough to keep her afloat, but more importantly, it placed her exactly where she wanted to be. Every day she stood behind polished marble, smiling at guests who arrived in dark cars and tailored suits. She watched them carefully, their watches, their shoes, the way they spoke without worrying about prices. This was the world she wanted to enter, not by effort, but by access. Most of the guests were young businessmen who barely noticed her. But one man did. He was older, around 60, always dressed in dark suits that fit perfectly. He moved slowly, confidently, as if time worked for him instead of against him. His car was long and black. A driver opened the door for him. When he walked through the lobby, people stepped aside. His name was David, and unlike the others, his wealth was quiet but undeniable. Cindy noticed the way he looked at her, not quickly, not carelessly, but directly. She adjusted her posture, fixed her hair, and reminded herself of the plan she had chosen. This was not about feelings. This was about opportunity. When David walked up to the desk one afternoon, he did not glance at the computer screen. He looked only at her face. He told her she was beautiful. Cindy smiled and responded exactly the way she had practiced in her mind. She laughed softly. She complimented strength, intelligence, success. She positioned herself not as a girl asking for attention, but as a prize worth earning. David did not talk much. He did not need to. He placed a white card on the desk with his name and number and asked her to come to his house that evening. Cindy felt a rush of excitement mixed with unease. She ignored the discomfort. She told herself this was confidence, not fear. She accepted the card and said yes without hesitation. David's house was enormous. Every surface shone. Every object looked expensive and untouched. Cindy walked through rooms that felt more like a museum than a home. David offered her a drink and sat close to her on the sofa. He opened a small box and showed her a silver necklace that caught the light perfectly. When he placed it around her neck, Cindy felt powerful, desired, successful. She told herself this was proof she had made the right choice. That night, Cindy focused on what the gift represented, not on the man who gave it. She ignored the dryness of his skin, the distance in his eyes, the way the house felt empty despite its size. She told herself feelings were unnecessary. This was a transaction, even if she did not yet call it that. She wanted the life, not the person. She wanted safety, not love. In the morning, she woke up alone in the large bedroom. David dressed quickly and avoided her gaze. There were no goodbyes, no warmth, no promises. Cindy stood there, suddenly unsure of where she belonged. She tried to talk about their future, about staying, about becoming more than a guest. David laughed. Not kindly. He told her she was pretty, but unrealistic. He made it clear she was temporary. The necklace felt heavy against her skin as she left. What had felt like a reward the night before now felt like payment. Cindy walked out of the house understanding something she had refused to see before. She had not controlled the situation. She had been valued only for what she offered, and once that was taken, she was dismissed. She told herself she was still smart, that she would try again, that this was just one mistake. But a small crack had already formed inside her confidence. That night, she told herself she was smart. She didn't know she was being bought. The morning after that night, Cindy did not feel victorious. She stood in David's vast bedroom, surrounded by silk curtains and silent furniture, and for the first time, the luxury felt cold. She had imagined waking up there would feel like arrival, like crossing a line into a better life. Instead, it felt like standing in someone else's world without permission. David moved around the room calmly, efficiently. He put on his watch, adjusted his cufflinks, and checked his phone. He did not ask how she slept. He did not look at her with interest or affection. Cindy watched him, waiting for a sign that the night meant something more. When he finally spoke, his voice was polite, distant, almost professional. He told her a car would take her back to the city. Cindy's heart began to beat faster, not with excitement, but with urgency. She could feel the moment slipping away, and panic pushed her to speak. She told him she did not want to go back to the hotel job. She spoke about staying, about building something together, about becoming his woman, his partner, his wife. In her mind, this was the natural next step. She had given him youth, beauty, attention. Surely this was how the exchange worked. David looked at her then. Not with desire, not with admiration, but with something harder. He laughed, softly at first, then louder, as if she had misunderstood a joke. Cindy felt heat rise to her face. The laughter stopped, and his eyes turned cold. He told her she was dreaming too big. He told her she did not understand how the world worked. You must understand your place, he said calmly. The words landed heavily, like a door closing. In that moment, Cindy saw herself through his eyes. Not as special, not as chosen, just as a young woman who had been entertaining, convenient, and replaceable. He explained it without cruelty, as if stating a simple fact. The night was pleasant. The gift was generous. That was all it was ever meant to be. Cindy felt something collapse inside her. The fantasy she had built, the idea that beauty could buy power, that shortcuts could replace effort, crumbled in seconds. She realized she had never been in control. She had mistaken attention for respect, gifts for commitment, silence for consent. David had never promised her anything. She had promised herself a lie. She left the house quietly, the silver necklace still resting against her skin. On the way out, she caught her reflection in a glass door. For a moment, she did not recognize herself. The necklace that had made her feel powerful the night before now felt heavy and embarrassing. It no longer symbolized success. It felt like proof of how easily she had been reduced to a transaction. Outside, the city looked the same, but Cindy felt exposed, as if everyone could see what she had done. She touched the necklace and felt shame rise in her throat. She had wanted an easy life, but no one had warned her how expensive that choice would be. Not in money, but in dignity. She walked through the streets slowly, replaying David's words again and again. Your place. She hated the way they stayed with her. She hated herself even more for believing she could skip years of effort and still stand tall. For the first time since leaving college, she felt truly small. That afternoon, Cindy returned to her tiny apartment. The walls were bare. The silence was loud. She took off the necklace and placed it on the table. Without the glow of David's house, it looked ordinary. Cheap, even. She realized then that the object had never held value on its own. Its value came from what she had hoped it meant. She sat on the floor and cried, not for David, not for the life she wanted, but for the version of herself who believed she could be bought and still feel proud. She thought about her parents, their anger, their disappointment. She thought about the work she had avoided, the effort she had feared. For the first time, she understood what they had tried to tell her. The illusion was gone. The shortcut had ended. And in its place was a hard, painful truth. That necklace didn't make her feel rich. It made her feel small. Cindy did not go back to the hotel after leaving David's house. She did not have the strength to put on a smile, to stand behind a front desk and pretend she was confident and in control. Instead, she took a long bus ride out of the city, watching the buildings slowly disappear and turn into familiar streets she had once been desperate to escape. Every mile felt heavy. She was going home with nothing. No money, no plan, no pride left to protect. When she stood in front of her parents' house, her hands trembled. This was the place where she had argued, shouted, and walked away believing she was smarter than everyone else. She was afraid the door would stay closed. She was afraid of anger, disappointment, or silence. But when her mother opened the door and saw her standing there, pale and exhausted, something in Cindy broke. Tears filled her eyes before she could speak. She told them everything. Not in excuses. Not in half-truths. She admitted she had been lazy. She admitted she wanted a fast, easy life without effort. She admitted she believed her beauty could replace discipline, learning, and patience. Her voice shook as she spoke, not because she wanted sympathy, but because for the first time, she was honest with herself. Her father listened quietly. He did not interrupt. When Cindy finished, the room was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, calmly but firmly. He said they had warned her because they loved her, not because they wanted to control her. He said life does not reward shortcuts, only responsibility. His words were not soft, but they were real. Her parents gave her one last chance. Not because she deserved it, but because they believed she could still change. The conditions were clear. She would return to college. She would work part-time. She would take responsibility for her choices and stop looking for easy solutions. There would be no more running away. That night, Cindy slept in her old room. It was small and simple, nothing like David's mansion. But for the first time in months, she slept deeply. There was no fear of being used, no pressure to impress, no pretending. The safety she felt did not come from money or luxury. It came from being accepted even after failure. The next morning, Cindy looked at herself in the mirror. She looked the same, but something inside her had shifted. She no longer wanted a life that looked easy from the outside. She wanted a life she could respect from the inside. For the first time, Cindy did not want an easy life. She wanted a real one. Cindy returned to college quietly. There was no dramatic announcement, no proud moment, just a schedule printed on white paper and books that felt heavier than she remembered. At first, it was uncomfortable. She had missed lessons. She was behind others. Some days, she wanted to quit again. But this time she stayed. Not because it was easy, but because she finally understood the cost of running away. She found a small job at a cafe near campus. The pay was low, the hours long. She wiped tables, served coffee, and stood on her feet until they ached. No one cared how pretty she was. No one offered gifts. And strangely, that made her feel free. For the first time, what she earned was connected to what she did, not how she looked. The necklace from David stayed in a small box at the bottom of her drawer. She never wore it. It was no longer a symbol of desire or success. It was a reminder. A reminder of who she almost became and why she chose a different path. She did not hate that part of her past. She accepted it as a lesson she had to learn the hard way. Slowly, Cindy began to feel proud again. Not because of attention, but because of effort. She studied late. She passed exams. She paid small bills with her own money. Each step was ordinary, but together, they built something real. She stopped looking for someone to save her. She was learning how to stand on her own. She no longer dreamed of an easy life. She dreamed of a solid one. A life where she could look at herself without shame. A life built on skills, discipline, and choices she could defend. Shortcuts cost dignity. Beauty fades, skills don't. Respect starts with self-respect. If this story made you reflect on your own choices, please like this video. Share the lesson you took from it in the comments. And subscribe to keep learning English through real-life stories with meaning and growth.